Well, it seems we finally know what the sensitivity readers at Wizard of the Coast has found in the Dungeons & Dragons books, and they're changing words like savage, barbarian, and dark to be omitted from Dungeons & Dragons books going forward. The newer renditions of digital versions of these games are going to be absolutely ridiculous, and everyone's just going to sit there and clap as games like Baldur's Gate 3 comes out with the new dialogue changes. This is everything that you wished for, and now you're gonna get it. Now, also do me a favor before you get fully into the video and I get into the topic, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. The sooner you can leave a comment, the more comments that we can get down below, and it's great for the algorithm. So this came across, it's by someone called Alpha Stream. They sit there and look at game design. They have a blog that came out, but they actually went through the whole details and the effort to find the info of the sensitivity and inclusion changes to Dungeons and Dragons and adventures and everything under the sun, and it is extensive. I'm probably going to cut this video shorter than I want because of how incessant and how insane this really does get. So I scroll down here, you've got things like savagery and civilization. They've cut it down with categories. It's absolutely, it's a really good blog post, although at the end he says these are good changes for the game, and I think all the rest of the companies that make adventures should adopt this and this type of language, and it's like, no, you don't need this. You don't need it's a way of storytelling. If you can't storytell with words that are not even going to change anything, this is just making up new versions of the same words. And this type of language control is absolutely predatory on the market and the state of things, and it's all about control. It's all about the way we think, and it takes away a lot of freedom in that sense. So they're changing things like savage giants to brutal giants, savage raiders to merciless raiders, savage orcs to ruthless bandits. Orcs are removed. They're no longer allowed under this stuff. They're just bandits now. The barbarian horde is now the invading horde. Vikings were barbarians. Does this mean Diablo 4 now has to remove their barbarian class? This is Wizards of the Coast saying, this is the new fantasy. This is your modernization of fantasy, and this is what it's going to be going forward. And it's absolutely ridiculous at this point. They remove words like civilization. You know, you live in a city. Get back to everything around you. Civilization is now offensive. It's now your home base. It's now your home portal, whatever you want to call it. The primitive background is just deleted. It's a warrior who can enter a battle rage. The civilized lands, so the savage lands are no longer exist. They're just another land. They're just some magical place where unicorns come down and trot along rainbows. That's exactly what it is now. Beyond the walls of civilization is now just the unsettled lands. It's the out there. It's the lands that are beyond the wall. It's this cute and unmerciless. Oh, I can't even say that. How many things am I going to get wrong here with this new way of having to speak? It's absolutely ridiculous at this point. They remove things like madness, insanity, and crazy due to mental health factors. So one of the ones here, they talk about how demons go insane with fear. Now, it's demons are overcome by fear. No, that is completely wrong. If you are fighting your demons, I suggest you look in my back catalog. I talk about demons. I talk about how they are inside of us, how we are constantly fighting them because they drive you insane. They take you beyond what you should be human capable. It is a mental health state that you need help with. Removing things like this for Dungeons and Dragons may push forward with someone actually doing things that they don't want. They will succumb to their demons in this sense when you control the language like this. It's absolutely ridiculous, and this it kind of pisses me off that they're taking away the demon's incessancy of driving a person insane. That is the madness of being a demon. They are from the abyss. They are from the hells. They will drive you insane. And that is why it's our inner demon that we are always fighting. It's the mental health factor that we are always fighting. And if you just let your demons become overcome by fear, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. A herald, a town crier, and a mad person. Well, they're no longer a mad person because the mad person is now a prophet. You know, Alex Jones is no longer a mad person on the internet. He's just a prophet. That's what they're changing here. That's what they're trying to change here. You're no longer allowed to say Alex Jones is a mad person. A mad woman standing on the street corner is now a soothsayer. They've given her a term. They've taken away the madness again and actually given her a term. The insane circumstances are now the bizarre circumstance. So you can't say insane, you have to say bizarre. It's a lunatic driven mad is now a cultist tormented. Bioessentialism, they're no longer breeding, they're recruiting. Racial purity and comparison of the lesser. So dismiss those that are lesser creatures as crude and disgusting. That forms is a flaw in racial purity of any kind. This sounds, that sounds a little crazy, but they now have to change it to, even as they dismiss those creatures as crude and disgusting, the form is flaw. Beholders are greatly in their physical forms. This is for beholders. They changed the wording around beholders. You know, a creature that is an aberration, that is actually something not of human likeness, more like octopus of the sea. They took beholders and they can no longer be a racial purity of themselves. So now you have to go have sex with a beholder because they can't be pure. That's what they're talking about here in this. That's absolutely ridiculous. The dark elves are no longer a word you're allowed to use in Dungeons and Dragons. The dark elves are only known as drow now. They're only known as drow. There's no such thing as a dark-skinned elf anymore. That's where they're going with this. Everyone, they now have their own name. They are now drow. I don't know what to tell you here. This is their sensitivity, readers. Apparently it's insensitive to talk about the dark elves in this sense, which, you know, in other fantasy games, that's what they're referred to. Drow was a term that was used in the Forgotten Realms and made famous by LRA Salvador with the Dritz series. Dim-witted. You can't call creatures dim-witted anymore. They're incurious. Yeah, there's no stupid creatures in Dungeons and Dragons anymore. There's nothing. They're all respectable creatures that are going to have the unicorns come down and they're going to ride into battle. Oh, there's no more battles because they're no longer dim-witted. You can't go to war anymore. Like, come on. Oh, we got gendered language now. Yeah, these are always great. You can play a male or female character without gaining any special benefits or hindrances. Think about how your character does or does not conform to the broader culture. It has been changed to, you choose your character's sex, gender, and sexual orientation. Think about how your character interacts with the broader culture expectations and these characteristics. So now you have to describe yourself as the way society sees you and how you fit in with society. You don't have to look at the science of it all. Blinded as unaware. They've changed you being blind to unaware. You can no longer be blind in Dungeons and Dragons. You are just oblivious to everything in front of you that you can't see. That's pretty offensive. That's pretty offensive. So fat has been changed from tallest and fattest to just the biggest giant. That giant doesn't have fat rolls anymore. He's just big. He's big. He's big boned. You know, like, come on. Asian and honor? What is this? The ability fits well in a setting inspired by Asian cultures such as the Karatur in the Forgotten Realms, has been changed to the honor ability is useful in a campaign that revolves around others of knights or other warriors who adhere to formal code. So you're just changing the tenets of a paladin in this sense. Sure. I can never say this word. It's an amulet. Generally of Jewish descent, but it doesn't necessarily go that far. It goes further than just that. A Palathari, which in Dungeons and Dragons is a lich holding their soul, is traditionally an amulet in the shape of a small box, but it can now take the form of an item possessing an interior space. It becomes a Horcrux, is pretty much all it is. That's what they're changing it to. It's absolutely more ridiculous, because there was adventures about slaves. So the slave pens are no longer going to be the slave pens. It's going to be changed to something else. Oh, here it is. The slave pens might be a common feature, which is now the quarters for enslaved citizens or creatures. Slaves are now servants. This is starting to really not sound or bode very well when it comes down to it. They take hold slaves to toil in the Underdark, regarding them as free labor and crude currency, being changed by held in captivity for generations by the Lithids. The dwarves eventually won their independence to aid the evil gods Lodor in captivity and for... Oh my god. It's ridiculous. The hoops that they're jumping through to change all these words and language is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I can continue going on here. Oh, hey, for all the magic people out there that have a dark ritual in their possession, it's no longer a dark ritual. It's now going to be the vile ritual. That's where it is. Final thoughts on this? I don't need to go into this because I've gone on long enough. I'm your proud Canadian Phoenix, Sinner Shadow. I'm signing off here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I tell you, what they're doing to Dungeons and Dragons is absolutely going to tear it apart. And looking over every single word in these in the game is just going to drive a person to madness. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day. Changed the wording around beholders. A creature that is an aberration, that is actually something not of human likeness, more like an octopus of the octopus of the sea.